Discuss the Cree tool itself now. The tool for determining whether a person is black, the Cree tool. So in order to determine if a person is black, you're going to compare. You're gonna compare a picture of somebody to Martin Luther King to Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. is going to be your baseline for a black person, for a black male, and Cynthia McKinney. What pictures? Martin Luther King is going to be your baseline for a black male, and you're going to use Cynthia McKinney for your baseline of a black female. You're going to compare them. You're going to compare a male over the age of 6 to Martin Luther King Jr. and Prince Charles of England, and a female over the 6 years to former U.S. Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney and Lady Diana Spencer of England, in 6 traits: the tightness or coil of their hair, the darkness of their skin, the degree of concave arc forming bridge in their nose bridge. Now, what that means is you basically have 2 types of nose bridges. You have the nose bridge that curves. If you look at a black person's nose bridge, and then you have the other type that comes straight down from your forehead like a triangle or a hawk nose. Okay, so now the nose bridge that looks like a valley, that's the extreme end of the black spectrum of the nose, and the one that looks like a triangle or a hawk nose, that's the other end. You're gonna look at the width of the nose in proportion to distance of the eyes, and you're gonna look at the darkness of the eyes. The lighter the eyes, the less black that phenotype is. The thinner the nose in width, the less black the nose width is. The thickness of lips, and the thickness of lips. So that's the 5 traits: the coil of the hair, the darkness of the skin, the degree of concave in their nose, the curve, the width, the nose width, the darkness of eyes and the thickness of lips. So we're gonna look at somebody who has, and what you do is you have 3 points. You have 3 points in each of the 5 phenotypes. So now, in coil of hair, this picture here of young Michael Jackson has a level 3, has 3 points in his hair. Now there are people on Earth who have even more coiled hair than him, but this is basically what you're looking at. Or you can look at Martin Luther King. You see his hair there? That's similar to Michael Jackson's. Now there are people with more coiled hair, but you don't get points for having even more coil. It's just, are you there? Once you reach that, then then that person will have 3 points for their hair. Now the next level in here, you see Raven Simone here. Her hair is a little bit less coiled, significantly less coiled than Michael Jackson's and Martin Luther King's. She would get 2 points for hair. 2 out of 3 points. Okay. And finally, you have Instagram star Bernice Burgos. Her hair is straight and shiny. Now, when you see somebody with shiny hair, that's an automatic. They get 1 point, because black people generally we don't have that shine in our hair. Our hair doesn't have that shiny gloss that goes with the non-black groups. So if you see somebody with hair like her, she'd get 1 point. Now what you do is you there are 6 traits. Yeah, I said five. The tightness and coil of hair, the darkness of your skin, the nose bridge curve, the width of your nose, the darkness of your eyes, and thickness of your lips. Yeah, six. Okay. So that's so you see Bernice Burgos here with she would get a one for her hair and sheen on it. Now we're gonna go to the skin. I'm gonna open up a text box so we can type out what we're doing. Yeah. So you got 3 points for hair, and each point you get you get three levels for hair, and on each level you get 35 points on that. Okay. So the next is the darkness of skin. It's the same as hair, but instead of 35 you get 20. Okay. Now if we're discussing skin color, Normani here, where are we? Normani here is the highest level of you know of dark skin. There are darker people than her, but once you reach that level, that's the maximum, and you move on. Okay, that's Normani there. The next the next level here, you have OJ the Juice Man, rapper. He wouldn't have 3 of 3 skin. He'd have 2 of 3. He's significantly lighter than the baseline of black people. So so when you would rate OJ, you would say, okay, he has two of three. When you compare his skin to the baseline of black. Okay, and then lastly we have presidential candidate Kamala Harris. She's even lighter than OJ, and she'd have 1 of 3. Okay, so now, for instance, if you're rating a person now, and a person has, and you give them 3 of 3 for hair, then you would multiply. You you would take the 35, and you would get 35 for each. That's 35 times 3, which would be 105. They would get 105 overall for that. Okay, so the next level is skin color. Actually, it's no, it's no, it's nose bridge. It's the concave nose. So this one gave people the most confusion. Even me, it took me a little while to get it. But all this Cree tool basically is you're taking the facial recognition software that's built into your brain, and you're consciously reprogramming it. Because the way that it is now is it's unconsciously programmed. It's programmed. Our facial recognition software in our brain is programmed, but it's not programmed by us. It's programmed by whoever else, by just listening to what other people say. So as it stands right now, we have the facial recognition software. We look at people, oh, this person is that, this person is this person is that. But the software is inadequate to determine what a black person is. So in using the Cree tool, what you're doing is you're reprogramming your facial recognition to be able to look at people and say, oh, I see what this person has and what this person doesn't have. Nose bridge. So now we're going to discuss the nose bridge. Again, you got 3 levels, and each level is worth 10 points. Okay? Now, Lupita Nyong'o, if you look at her nose, it has a nice little curve there. From her forehead down to her nostrils, it curves like a C or a U. She has the fully formed black nose bridge. She gets the full three level of that. She has a level 3 black nose bridge. Okay. Next, Rihana. Also, Rihana has a level 3 nose bridge. The curve from the top, down. I put 2 level 3s just to really compare it so we can kind of see what we're working with here. Okay, Lupita, level 3. Rihana, level 3. Okay, next. Seti, Sarasuten Seti of YouTube fame. He has a level 2 nose bridge. I didn't get a profile of him because it was kind of hard to find them. But if you look at him from the front, you can still kind of see that his nose bridge is a little less curved than the previous shown sisters, Rihana and Lupita. And lastly, you have this woman here who has a level 1 nose bridge. As you can see, it's more angular, hawk-like. She would get a 1. She has a level 1 nose bridge. So at the end, you would give her either 10 points if she had a level 1, 20 points, or 30 points if she has a level 3. Okay, we're definitely gonna be doing examples of this in the future, so we can like cement it. We're gonna make a fun game out of it. Okay, so that's nose bridges. This nose bridge here is a level 1 nose bridge. She would only get 10 points. Now, somebody like Prince Charles, who I'll show a little later, he wouldn't even get the 10 points. Now we have Nelly, rapper. We're gonna talk about the nose width, the width of the nose, from nostril to nostril. Okay. Yes, Nelly has a level 3 nose width. And like nose bridge, you get 10 points for each level. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, AJ. Glad to hear it. Okay, well, if y'all have any difficulties with this, let me know, because I know that it's a little tough at first. So definitely let me know if there's any like struggling going on with the understanding. Okay, so Nelly has a level 3 nose width. He has the blackest nose. Now, as I said in the other ones, you're gonna have people who have who have even wider noses. But it's not a race. We're not trying to see who's the blackest person in the world. We're not trying to make a line of blackness and then give all the gold to the most black person. No. We're trying to see who's black and who's not black. You're either black or you're not. It's binary. You're a black human, or you're a non-black human, or you're one of the animals or bugs or anything like that. And that's what we're discussing here. Once you reach once you're in the black side of the spectrum, you're black, and then outside of the black spectrum, you're something else. Okay, so we're moving on from Nelly. He has that black nose. Next, it's going to be a level 2 nose width. This guy from I forget his name, from the new movie of Superfly, he has a level 2 nose bridge. Trevor Jackson is his name. Trevor Jackson from Superfly has a level 2 nose width. He would get since he's level 2, he would get 20 points. If he was level 3, he'd get what? 30 points. It's simple arithmetics. Lastly is a level 1 nose width. It looks like it's very small. Okay. This here is Cara McCullough, Miss USA. I should have chosen a better picture because you're gonna have to look really close to see her nose width, but she would have a level 1 nose width. Okay. So the next ranking we're gonna talk about is eye darkness. Okay. 3 of 3 and 10. These are also now. What's with the numberings? Why does eye darkness, nose width, and nose bridge only get 10 points per level, whereas skin darkness gets 20 points per level, and hair coil gets 30 points per level, 35 points per level? Well, if you think about it, everybody on Earth who's not black has similar kinds of hair. Black people are the only ones who have the coiled hair. So hair and skin are one of the strongest are some of the strongest signals to a person's blackness. Nose bridge, nose width, and eye darkness, they're there too, but the coil in the hair, that it's really tough to find somebody who doesn't who has like level 1 of all the other features but level 3 hair. Like, it's really hard unless they're like an albino, and the albino, for instance, are we kind of look at them differently in the Cree tool. You can't use the tool for albinos the same way you use it for a normal black person, because that's like almost a birth defect. I don't know if it's specifically the same definition as a birth defect, but it's not. You're not looking at a normal black person. Yeah, we have our hair is most special. Okay, so eye darkness. We're gonna look at people's eyes now. Okay, so J. Cole, he has level 3 eyes. We deal with darkness and lightness. We're not talking about the actual color of the eye. But J. Cole has just regular dark eyes. So you look at him, he would get he has level 3 eyes. He would get 30 points for his eyes. Okay. J. Cole. Next you have Colin Kaepernick again. His eyes, if you can look a little bit closer to the screen, you'll see Colin Kaepernick's eyes are a little bit lighter, significantly lighter. He would get he has level 2 eyes, and he would get only 20 points compared to J. Cole. And lastly, you have this singer, Leona Lewis, oldest singer. Her eyes are really light. Her eyes are just, she has very light eyes. You don't even have to look close to see it, that her eyes are lighter than the other two. And she has level 1 light eyes, and she would only get 10 points. Okay, so that's the eye darkness. That's 5, and the final phenotype that we look at is the thickness of lips. Again, 3 points, 3 levels, and 10 points. You're gonna compare them to. Let's look back now. Let's go back to Cynthia McKinney and Martin Luther King. Black folks, you look at our lips, and we have We have some meat in our lips. We have some flesh in there, and that's what we look at to determine a person's blackness in the lips category, the final category of blackness. Okay. So level 3, Tory Lanez, Canadian singer. He, you look at him. He has fully formed black lips. Level 3 black lips. He would get the 30 points in there. Next, Minister Malcolm X, our black shining prince. He had his lips are a little bit less thick than Tory Lanez. He wouldn't get the full. He doesn't have level 3 black lips. He has level 2. That's not to say that he's less black or anything. It's just his lips aren't his lips aren't at the end spectrum of black lips. Okay. And lastly, Princess Diana. She has level 1 lips, level 1 or below. Actually, she might have level 0 lips. Okay. She has between level 1 and level 0. Now, that's what you look at to determine a person's blackness, okay? Now, it's not just any scale now. Levels 1 through 3, level 0 and you can get 0. You can be a level 0. Level 0 is not at all like Martin Luther King or Cynthia McKinney, but very similar to Prince Charles or Lady Diana. Level 1, maybe a little like Martin Luther King or Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney. Level 2 is you definitely see some resemblance to the two. Level 3 is it's indisputable. It's indisputable more or at least as much as Martin Luther King and Cynthia McKinney. Now, what you do is level 1 Princess Diana, all right? Now comes a little bit of math, the fun part. Now, what you do is you look at you look at the ratings. Now, let's say that a person has 3 of 3 hair, right? So they get 35 points for each level of hair. 35 times 3 is 105. Okay? So 105. And you add that to the scale, you add that to what they get for hair, for skin color. If they're level 3, then they get 60 points for level 3 skin, right? 20, 40, 60. You add that. And then the next level is a nose bridge. If they're 3 of 3 on nose bridge, then they get 30 points. Nose width, 30 points for 3 of 3. Eye darkness, 30 points. And lip thickness gets 30 points. Now what you do is after you measure the person who you're looking at, you add that all up and you're left with the score. Now if the person is level 3 everything, then their final score is 285. 285 is the highest you can score with the Cree tool. It's not to say that you're more black or less black or whatever. It's just that's the score you get. Now, you can score anywhere from 285 to 190. 195. You have to score, which is a 68%. Remember, we went back and we was discussing the recent test where people were looking at biracial black and white people. It was a bunch of people that would go in and look at a bunch of biracial black people. And when they would look at these biracial black people, it would be shown that on average, people would be labeled as white if they resembled around 70% of a white person. If they resembled a white person around 70%, then they would, oh, that's a white person. So, with the Cree tool, the passing score is a 195. 195 and above, you're black. 195 and above, you're black. So anywhere from 195 to 285 is black. Anywhere below there, you know, you're something else. You're non-black. Okay. So when scoring skin color, use the lightest shade of skin ever observed at any place, normally observed on a clothed person. A clothed person can be a person in a swimsuit after the person has attained the age of 6. So you might find loads of pictures of this person. They might be, you know, anywhere from light to dark because of the sun or tanning lotion or anything. You take the lightest picture that you can find, and that's the picture you score. So you can't just go search for dark pictures of people and score that one. You got, you know, it takes some honesty, you know, but that's what the tool is not to bring people into the group. The tool is for when you want to be honest and you want to determine what a black person is. So if you're over there, you know, looking for pictures that make them look more black, then, you know, you're using a tool for reasons that tool isn't designed for. Okay, so when scoring skin color, use the lightest shade skin color ever observed at any place normally observed on a clothed person. When scoring hair coil, a broad range of textures and coil will score at level 2. So if you, like most black people in America, have, you know, different types of hair, you might have level 1 hair, level 3 hair, level 2 hair, you know, generally, if you have all of these wide range of coils, then then you're going to be a level 2. Now, if you have any kind of gloss or light reflection, as you can see, Princess Diana's hair is reflecting light. That is a non-black trait. That's a trait of non-black people. And when you're reflecting the light, you reduce it to a 1 off the rip. You're off the rip no matter what. You're a level 1 of hair. Some scores of 1 are not reduced due to gloss, because the assumption is that the geometry of those hair strands will always produce the gloss or sheen. Scores of 3 will never be reduced because of the assumption is that the geometry of those hair strands will never produce gloss. Black strands of hair don't produce gloss and sheen unless you got that oil in your hair and you straighten it or something, and you got to do a lot to it to get that sheen. It's not just naturally you waking up like that with that sheen. If a person has more than one kind of hair on his or her scalp, use the hair with the tightest coil that covers at least 25% of their scalp. When scoring eyes, reduce score by 1 rating point for any color other than brown. We have green eyes, gray eyes, blue eyes, any other color, you reduce it by 1. Now, you might have dark blue eyes. The highest you can get with your dark blue eyes is 2. You're not going to see a level 3 dark blue-eyed person. Off the rip, if your eyes aren't brown, you start off at a 2. Okay? Passing is 95%. 68% is the minimum amount of white phenotype characteristics that must be present in an admixed person in the U.S. to see the admixed person. In order for the sample reference in the face morphing task hypodescent study to be determined as white. The 6 characteristics have weights relative to each other according to how likely they are to be present on a face that does not share any of the 5 traits. Of all the characteristics, very tightly coiled, kinky, nappy hair is the least likely to be found on a person who has none of the other 5 traits, i.e., you're not going to find kinky coiled hair on somebody that looks like Princess Diana. I don't think you'll ever find that. You're never going to find somebody who looks like Diana with coiled hair, because it just doesn't happen. It is the trait least shared with other groups. Dark skin is the second trait least shared with other groups, but it's considerably, but it's more likely to be present on faces with two or less of the other traits. So you might find people like the earlier shown pictures of Horn Africa people with very dark skin, but they don't have any of the other characteristics of black people. Just having dark skin doesn't make you black. You need a good amount of the other traits. Because imagine if you have everything at 1, and you just have them 60 points for dark skin, you'll have a 60, right? Or let's try it. So let's say you have one hair, level 1 hair, which is going to give you 35 points. And if you have level 3 skin, will give you 60. Level 1 nose bridge will give you 10 points. Level 1 nose width will give you 10 points. Level 1 eye darkness will give you 10 points. And level 1 width lip thickness will give you 10 points. And remember, you need 195 points to be determined as black. But if you have that, you're only going to have 135 points. So a person with dark skin but all of the other features will not be black. So let's say that they have a little bit thicker lips. Get them level 2 thick lips will give them 145. Still not. You can have level 3 thick lips and you'll be at 155. Still not cutting it because you got to be 195. Let's say that they have the darkest of eyes, 30 points. They'd be at 175, right? So this person could have straight hair with sheen in it, but dark skin, dark eyes, and thick lips. They won't be considered black. Okay? Now, let's see. Now, at this point, though, a couple more levels up on a few of the traits, and then you will be there. Like if they had, if their nose was a little bit thicker. Let's say we give them 20 points. Let's see them give them level 2 nose thickness. You're at 185. Still not black. But at this point, any more of the other phenotypes, and you'll be there. Let's say we get them another level of the nose bridge. At that point, it's a black person now. What we're gonna do in the future is we're gonna look at more pictures of people, and we're gonna actually apply the Cree test to people, and we're gonna make short videos, to look at people and find out who's black and who's not black. We're gonna have fun with it. Yep. Dark skin is the second most characteristics of the black phenotype, but it's considerably more likely to be played. The remaining 4 traits sum to the composite of facial features that experience, and one scientific study has shown to be more important in being rated and being identified as a black person than skin color, by extension of them being shown more of a factor in determining the physical attractiveness. Finally, it is empirical. It works. That is, it will virtually always match the gut feeling about whether a person is or is not black, even if the hope is that a person is or is not black. A person cannot be ruled out as black using the algorithm until after age 6. So you're not going to be able to look at pictures of children to determine a person's blackness. However, you might want to look at the pictures. Like, suppose you have people who, do all kind of different changes to their body or their hair or what have you. Maybe you look at the pictures, the younger pictures, to see, if there was changes done, and then you can think about, you can think about adjusting, or if you even want to rate that person at that point. But a person cannot be used until age 6, and that is because many black people before that age have lighter skin, looser hair than they do after that age. Though it is sometimes true that the hair coil tightens get more of a black person and nose is narrow and nose bridge is raised after puberty, it is impractical to wait that long to classify a person as black or non-black. Further, those opposite directions, black versus non-black, of movement of those traits cancel each other out. Now, that's the Cree tool, basically. That's how we determine if a person is black, and that's how I've been doing it for the past 3 years or so. Now, there are some challenges that might come with using the Cree tool, and we'll discuss those right now. We'll discuss those challenges right now. Resistance by black people to explicitly exclude people from who they call black, who they might find physically attractive, who they might find more physically attractive than actual people. I've seen this a lot. Somebody might like a certain group of people, and then learn that that group of people aren't black. You're gonna find a lot of resistance from people like that. You're gonna find, you're gonna get a lot of resistance from that kind of person. People who are attracted to somebody, and then you say that's not a black person. You might be fighting that day. So you might find resistance there. In admixed families, siblings may be of different racial classifications. Your cousins, sisters, brothers might not be black. So that's going to be a challenge it's going to be challenging to get somebody to use the Cree tool who has a mother or father or sister or child who isn't black. That's going to be a challenge. People who had previously believed they were black and had based major life decisions on the belief, on that belief, and they will have their classification at odds with their self-identified race. Somebody might have said they were black their whole life, made decisions, taken jobs, got into fights, and they might see that they're not black by the tool. It'll happen. It's going to be a challenge we got to deal with. Objective standards have objective. This tool is an objective standards. It's objective. There's numbers, and it's reframing our internal facial recognition system, and there is some arbitrariness in it. However, just because there is some arbitrariness to the numbers doesn't mean it shouldn't be used. Comparing it to, like according to the paper, indecision as to whether a line or border should be drawn a millimeter to the left or a millimeter to the right, or even smaller units, a pentameter, will prevent the border from being drawn at all. Refusing to use the tool because there might be a little something you don't agree, or because you might feel it's arbitrary, will leave us back at the square one of not having a way to determine blackness, which is where we're at now, which is where we've been historically. Next, many people have been accustomed to a more precise numbering system for hair types, 1A, 2A, 2B, 2C, all the way up to 4C. And 1 through 3 might seem a little too simplistic. I don't feel that way. I feel like this system is complex, but some people might, some people who are used to using that 4C hair might look at 1 through 3 and get a little irritated because, for whatever reason. Next, some people might object on political grounds to the 4 persons chosen for standards against whom to compare characteristics, i.e. Martin Luther King Jr., Cynthia McKinney, Prince Charles of Wales, and Diana Spencer of England. They might not like those people being used. What are you going to do? Lastly, the last problem that's talked about in the paper is that this algorithm could be incorporated into surveillance technology to more quickly and accurately target black people for political activity or other racist purposes. But as stated earlier, if you're going to look at those issues and choose to refrain from using the tool, then we're back to square one of anybody being black, any $5 Negro running around getting a piece of the reparations, getting citizenship in our future country. And personally, I'm not with that. I'm not with it. Alternatively, the algorithm can be used in, electronic facial recognition to determine who is black and to say, you're black, so, your ID is now gonna show blackness. Your passport is gonna show you're black. That would be good. We'd be able to move around the world as black people, which could be good, could be not good, but at least we'll know. At least we'll finally understand who is and who isn't black. Okay, so black people must proceed with fortitude through all these challenges. If we have not the courage to weather the emotions that accompany this effort to define who we are with practical precision, it is uncertain that our current condition will worsen. It is actually, sorry. If we have not the courage to weather the emotions that accompany this effort to define who we are with practical precision, it is certain that our condition will worsen. If we don't determine who we are and who we aren't, things will worsen. Things will get a lot worse for us. There's no way things will get better. At this point, it's either they're going to worsen, they're going to stay the same. They're not getting better. There's no reason for them to get better. Okay, so on the closing statement, this is the last part of the paper. Shout out to y'all for coming through and rolling with me for the time of the presentation. Shout outs to y'all. So the last part of the paper is closing statement. If it is collectively held, perhaps epigenetically by non-black peoples of the world, that black people should be used as servants, if it's held by the non-black people, if they all believe that we should be servants, that we're just more capable than cows and horses, but we're less capable than other humans, and we're not allowed to partake in the wheel of millennium of knowledge and the fruits that come from the knowledge. And if it is collectively held by the non-black people that black people should be forever subordinate in that status, if they think we should forever be in this subordinate status, with our numbers bred and thin according to the needs and desires of non-black people, then, again, if the non-black people all agree and feel that we should be in this subordinate subjective state, then black people's plea for repair of centuries of abuse and torture for reparations is futile. If they think that we should be living like this and we shouldn't have anything and we should be sad and have our low quality of life and low lifespan, then our asking for reparations, our asking for them to treat us right, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It's futile. There is considerable evidence that this is the true belief of non-black people. It's probably true that they feel that way, that we're just, we're a little bit better than horses, but nowhere close to humans. There is considerable evidence. The evidence is their behavior towards black people wherever there are populations of black people on this planet. The evidence abounds currently and throughout known history of encounters between the two basic groups of Homo sapiens. And if this is their true belief, it is unlikely to change after the thousands of years of that mental orientation. It will be left to black people of the earth to invent for ourselves the means that have not existed before to physically free ourselves from bondage. To do that, we will have to become the greatest scientists known in history, and that's daunting. But the evolutionary record of life on this planet shows that much more unlikely things have happened. Let me give y'all one example. A long time ago, before there was animals and humans and all of that stuff on Earth, before there was even oxygen on Earth, there was little tiny creatures that lived in the oceans, and they breathed carbon dioxide, and that's what the planet was. That's what the air on the planet was. It wasn't any oxygen. So if we went all the way back then in some kind of time machine, we wouldn't be able to breathe on the Earth. Eventually, some creatures came on the scene that breathed in the carbon dioxide and breathed out oxygen. And then all the other creatures on the earth perished, and those creatures became the new creatures on earth. So they were able to evolve a way to not not be the weak creatures on earth, and they got rid of all of the other creatures because of the way they were breathing. They were able to evolve that ability. Against all odds, they changed the whole planet to work for them. So, and there's been numerous examples like that all throughout human history, in the fossil record of human history, of Earth history, not human history, Earth history. There's numerous examples like that. So it's not the hardest. It wouldn't be the most difficult thing that's ever happened in Earth life history. It's pretty difficult. I ain't gonna front, but it's not gonna be the most difficult. Now, if it is held by non-black peoples that black people should be and should always have been as free to pursue our aims as non-black people, then black peoples are due compensation from non-black people for the restraints placed upon us, the coercion and torture administered to us, for the economic, physical, and mental damage that resulted from the same. There is less evidence that this is the true belief of non-black people that expressed in the first paragraph of this white paper. The evidence are mostly declarations and statements that this is what they believe, with scattered, rare, and inconsistent behaviors consistent with such statements. This paper is based on the premise that the belief in paragraph 2 is the true belief of non-black peoples. So that is to say that most likely non-black people want to hold us in the position that we're in, as the weak people on earth, as the dregs of society. But if that's not true, and they feel that we should be allowed to move up and be equal on the earth, then this paper, the tools brought forth in this paper, can be used to facilitate that. If not, then the tools in this paper can be used to facilitate us becoming the greatest scientists in known history. Either one can work. We can match energy, and we can match the energy. If you think we're the slaves of the earth, then we're gonna have to deal with that. We're gonna have to develop ourselves and deal with it. If not, holler at the paper, and let's figure out a way to make this work. Now, I decided to read this paper because it's a pretty deep. It's a lot of depth to it and nuance, and I wanted to go over it first. If you look in the comment of this video, you'll see a link to this paper, and you'll be able to read it yourself, download it, distribute it, whatever you might want to do. Try to disprove it if you think that it's incorrect. You know, do what you do. But it's there. It's there in the comments. If you click more, you see the academia.edu, archive.org, and script.com. There will be more links as well in the coming days and weeks, and there's gonna be video. We're gonna upload videos looking at different people, different humans, and you know, seeing what's good, seeing what's what. But yeah, at that, I think I'm gonna call it here. I want to thank everybody for coming through, everybody with the questions and with the comments. It's fun. And I'm gonna strive to have more videos up this week. I know I took about a week or a week and a half to make this video for my last one, but after this point, I'm gonna strive to get more out. So yeah, guys, thanks to everyone for coming through. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments. Look for my next video soon. Peace.